Just a quick update here. So I think we're going to say that March pulled through for us. They finally did call me back. I had started modeling this. I don't have SolidWorks because I do mainly electrical work, but I had started modeling this so I could machine one. And I had a friend of mine offer to do it as well. He's got SolidWorks. I think I'm still going to have him do it anyways because March isn't going to part with the drawing for this. But at the same time, they did finally call me back after about 5 or 6 days. And they said, yeah, they said, well, I had to send them the proof of purchase for the original setup, which luckily I still had because I bought it back in 2014, I think. But they said, yeah, we looked at when you bought it. We changed the design 6 months afterwards because we had started to see failures. And they fixed it exactly the way that I was going to fix it. You can take a look at what they did here. They've got a long radius cut in here. They did that on both of these areas. That's the only place I could see it being a problem. It's not a problem back here. There's not enough leverage for it to be a problem in here, and the clearance is too tight anyways. But that's exactly what they did. They cut in a radius, and that just totally relieves that stress point. But yeah, this is the production part. It's interesting. It's still 20212-A. I would think they would have revved it to be, unless I'm assuming that is a revision number, and it's not. I would assume that it is, though. I mean, that's pretty standard practice. But anyways, I just wanted to do a quick update on this and say that March did pull through for me. That didn't cost me a dime, even though it's long out of warranty. They said, yeah, we accept that was a bad design, and we'll send you one free of charge. So I was kind of hating on March there, but, they made it right. Didn't cost me a dime. So, maybe, I shouldn't harp on them so much then, I guess. And, I'm glad because I looked at a bunch of different options, and I cannot put a long water pump option on my truck the way that it's set up. There just isn't room with the electric fans. It's just no way that it's going to fit. This is really the only serpentine pulley set that's out there that I can put on without having to make a bunch of major modifications. I'm sure anything's possible, but, this is certainly the easiest option. So I'm pretty certain, looking at how this is designed, it's not going to be a problem in the future. But if it is, I'm going to make one out of steel next. So anyways, just wanted to do a quick update on that for everyone. So let's shoot more boring video. I mean, why not, right? I got the system back installed. Unfortunately, when I pulled the bolts for the water pump, it started leaking, so I knew the gaskets were going to be toast, so I had to pull the water pump, put new gaskets, reseal it. So it's all back together now. I just wanted to touch on something real quick here, too, with this manual tensioning system. Depending on whose information you look at, they tell you either need a 1/4 or a 1/2 inch deflection along the longest belt segment. So, you don't want to pick short over here and get a 1/2 or a 1/4 inch. You want to look at the longest one. So on this system, it's actually between the alternator and the idler right here. That's one way to do it. I don't actually have it tensioned right now. I run an inch shorter belt on here than what they run, what March recommends, because I have a smaller diameter alternator pulley. Purposefully, it's the one that MechMan picked for this setup, for the charging that I need, which requires an inch shorter belt. So it's kind of tight when they're new. It's tight to get it on. I got to have both turnbuckles adjusters on here. I have to have them both all the way in to get the new belt on. By the time that it settles and everything, I have to turn these out, I don't know, about a 1/2 inch on either side, 1/2 inch to an inch on either side. So that's the way that they tell you. And if you don't have a fancy tension gauge, I have a fancy tension gauge because I'm kind of a stickler for stuff like this. So this is how this gauge works. If you want to pick one of these up, you can. They're a little on the pricey side. They're about $100, I think. But you would hook this on here and you snap it. And you can see I haven't even tensioned it yet, and it's sitting at about 80 pounds. With a serpentine belt, a 6-rig serpentine belt, we want to run it up to 120 pounds. let it seat. Then we're going to retension it to back up to 120 after 3 to 5 minutes of seat time with the engine running. And then that's it. Then I'm going to leave it. And then I usually check it a couple of times just to make sure that it's staying within the used range right here, the used to between used and new, just to make sure that we're not losing too much tension. I kind of proved to myself when this idler broke that I could run this with almost no tension. It didn't even slip. Once the belt seats, it gets pretty sticky, and you don't need a ton of force to hold it. I think I'm going to run this a little bit lower if I can, just because of the failure that I had. I don't think it's going to happen with this new bracket, but I'm just being cautious. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and run this up to about 120 pounds. So the initial tensioning is done now. I'm going to go ahead and just show you. I mean, there's really no point, but why not? So you can see the gauge. You want to make sure you snap it, like I said. By the way, it also doesn't matter where you're doing it at. You should pick a longer side if you can, but I'm doing it between the compressor and the idler just because it's a little bit easier. But for the purposes of this type of tensioner, I don't believe that it matters. So anyways, I'm just shy of 120. I know it's going to seat. That's what happens with these after a 3 to 5 minute warm up is what they tell you to do. What happens is the V grooves seat into the pulley, get a wear pattern, wear themselves in, which sucks the belt in a little bit. And when that happens, the belt loses tension because it's sucking the belt in. So anyways, I've still got to fill it up with coolant, and I'm going to wait for the Right Stuff 90 to cure before I dump any fluid into it. Anyways, that's just a real quick manual serpentine adjustment since I had to have this apart already for the broken bracket.